Welcome to Doctrine and Devotion, a podcast exploring Christian faith and practice from a Reformed Baptist perspective. My name is Joe Thorne. I'm the lead pastor of Redeemer Fellowship in St. Charles, Illinois.
Whoa. Whoa, what kind of tone was that?
Well, I know you are the Tone Loc police.
Come on.
And you're very sensitive.
You're
very snowflakey about tone.
You got to go like PBS on this.
I try. That was my NPR. I was trying to go NPR.
And I'm Jimmy Fowler, executive pastor at Redeemer Fellowship.
That is NPR. You just schooled me in NPR.
That is how you do it, Joe.
Yeah.
So,
wow, I like that. It makes me feel liberal.
And now, if you can open up your wallet and send a donation, I will send you a tote bag.
A tote bag.
Tote bag.
Only liberals want tote bags.
For any donation, $25 or more.
Yeah. It's like, what's that girl that does Fresh Air on NPR? What's her name? You don't even know, do you?
No,
I don't listen to NPR, guys.
I was about to say, that's the extent of my joking right there.
Ira Glass, This American Life. I don't listen to that stuff. So, how you doing, man? Are you ready?
Good. Are
what? You prepared?
For what?
To make your formal apology.
No.
Obviously, you need to make a formal apology.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I've done something wrong yet.
I feel like some people have expressed that.
No.
Yeah,
listen, you know who's gone silent? Tom Askell, Jared Longshore. I don't know if I'm supposed to be apologizing.
They have not said anything yet about the documentary pushback.
I think I saw one thing from Tom
about
deleting,
Rachel Denhollander.
Deleting that. But I know he hasn't. He has not sent a text or a message to let me know where.
Why would he bother? First of all, he's not going to send you anything.
Okay, he goes through my assistant.
I'm like, please.
How'd you like that?
I'm your mentor.
Was that pretty good?
Your life coach.
That was pretty good.
Your boss.
You thought right. First of all, you're not my boss.
I'm totally your boss.
You're not my boss. Let's just stop right there.
Okay.
Come on now. I'm going to call
podcast
you out for
boss.
I'll give you
husband.
Listen, I'll give you mentor, but
mentor.
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 Yeah, like Dementor. So yes, he goes through my assistant, and I've not yet heard anything.
Okay.
So if you don't know, Tom Hicks has not came out yet with the gospel gold that usually accompanies something like this.
Tom Hicks. Okay, if you don't know what we're talking about, we released a bonus episode before this one.
Yeah.
You just go back one episode and you'll find it, and it's called Founders Cinedebacle.
Yep.
Now, they released a trailer for their forthcoming documentary, exposing. In their mind, liberalism creeping into the SBC.
Yep.
And the documentary was terrible, and so we talked about it. And
the trailer was terrible.
I'm sorry, the trailer was a doc. We don't know anything about.
You start this.
Everybody's freaking out.
Give it time.
We were very clear. We don't know anything about the documentary, but the trailer we can talk about. And the trailer was a train wreck. So we addressed it.
Yep.
And we weren't the only one. A lot of people were torqued, and like 4 seminary presidents all said that Greenway was added to the list. Said, hey, we're labeled as featured contributors basically to this thing. And we don't like that.
Dever out.
I didn't see Devers.
Dever out. Yeah.
I looked for it. I couldn't find it. Where did he say it?
He did it through Lehman.
Oh.
No, for real.
Through his assistant. Okay.
Through his assistant. He did it through his assistant. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. So,
that's what we're talking about. Usually, though, when things like this happen,
Tom Hicks.
Yeah,
Tom Hicks is though.
He is my jam.
He's my jam.
He is my jam. Yeah. He is my gospel jam.
He's your gospel peanut butter. He's my gospel jam.
No, he's my gospel jam.
Tom is smart and articulate, but I really, when he writes, I like what he writes. I mean, he's a great guy, and he said some great stuff online. Mm-hmm. It was good stuff. Well,
no, I'm just saying, like, there's usually in situations like
Are you getting in trouble right now? You're about to get in trouble right now, I think. Go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
Not.
You have a look on your face.
No. It's because usually maybe something comes out, and then we respond, and then my foot goes in my mouth, and then Tom Hicks comes, and then, I get like either Askell or Longshore, they'll say something, and then Tom Hicks comes out.
Yeah.
And he's like, Whoa, why can't we all be unified in love and brothers?
But he's more manly than that. But yeah,
it sounds like this.
I don't think Tom Hicks sounds like that.
I've Skyped with him.
Really? Is that what he sounds like?
No, I have no idea. I'm making that up.
I didn't think so because you do like the FaceTime.
I love the FaceTime.
You do the FaceTime a lot.
I love the FaceTime.
So that's what we were talking about. Hey, Tom Hicks, write something, man, because we love what you write. And
can you please bring clarity to this? Because it's pretty unclear.
Clarity, but I think clarity, generosity,
grace, humility.
Here's the thing.
Apologies.
So like we got some pushback from our episode, not much, but we got some pushback.
We got some
people saying somebody said something about pearl clutching, and I couldn't tell if they were saying that we were clutching our pearls in response to the.
Oh, it had to be about us, and specifically you.
Yeah. First of all, here's the thing. Jimmy and I are not sensitive guys. Well, actually, okay, Jimmy is a sensitive guy.
No, I'm a sensitive guy. Not caps lock FM. No,
you're not triggered. You're not easily triggered. You're not effeminate. You're so like we're not like sensitive. Like, oh, this hurts my feelings, or this scares us, or intimidates us. It's not about that. Here's what I don't like.
Yeah, when something's wrong, you call it out.
And so listen, liberalism is a problem. Okay,
we said that.
Social justice ideology is a problem.
We said that.
Egalitarianism is a theological problem.
We said that.
Okay, so we've got to identify these problems. We've got to properly identify the problems. You got to properly identify and define the people that you are associating with it. And when you're coming out a little bit like a bully, I don't like it. I don't like it because here's the thing. When I was in high school, I didn't get into a lot of fights. But when I did, it was usually because some big guy was picking on a little guy. And as a little guy, I didn't like that. So then
so I bit his ankle.
So I would, I could bite the kneecap. I can get up there.
Oh, don't,
my jaw disengages like a python.
Joey,
bite that. So here's the thing, like ankle. that's where I would step in. Like things would get physical then because I don't like bullies. Because I was beat up as a little kid a lot. And I learned how to fight. It stopped. And so like, I don't like bullies, not because I'm afraid of bullies, but because I think bullies need to be put in their place. Yeah. Now, I am not saying that founders are bullies. I don't believe that. But the way that they have targeted certain individuals, I think is unfair. And the way that in this trailer, not in the documentary, I don't know about the documentary, but in the trailer, don't like it. So the way that they like and now people who are fans of the trailer are like saying like things like, well, the J.D. Greer is a problem and Matt Chandler is a problem. They're theological. These are not only your brothers and sisters in Christ. These are like conservative, Bible believing, Calvinistic pastors. Yeah. And so, where you probably disagree with them on some points, but where they're disagreeing, I
don't get it. I am anxious. I'm patient.
You're anxious.
Well, yeah, I'm anxiously awaiting to hear from Tom or Jared on this.
Okay.
Like, I'm sure they're going to, I would assume no, I shouldn't say there's no way.
They'll apologize about the Dan Hollander thing, for sure.
Okay. That's still a great
because Tom already addressed that in a post.
Okay, well then, yeah, that's good.
That's good.
That's good. Then there's the rest to apologize for, and I'll let you go ahead and enjoy that. Or I guess Tom Hicks will in some way or another.
I don't know.
Now speaking though of bullies,
yes,
there's been a Driscoll sighting online.
Driscoll sightings have become almost as rare as Bigfoot sightings. They happen, not very often.
People don't believe that it actually happened until you have photographic or video evidence.
Yeah, or like a 2-hour-long interview. So if you guys don't know, Driscoll recently said in an interview, it's a long interview, but he said in this interview, quote, "I don't hold to the 5 points of Calvinism. I think it's garbage. It's not biblical," is he followed up with that later. And that statement, even though it was just one little aside and the rest of the interview was about other stuff that nobody cared about. That got a lot of attention because Mark was, for several years, this highly influential pastor.
He was pretty
big time influential.
Not just within the church, though. No. Even within the culture, society at large, right?
Yeah, Time Magazine listed him among a couple of other people as one of the leaders in the new Calvinist movement.
Thank you for remembering that I was in that
it was
article.
It was you. It was Rob Bell. Was that what? No, he's not in that. No. Who else was the new Cal? I don't remember who he said.
I think they said Pope Piper.
Piper, Fowler, and Driscoll. That it is.
And only one survived.
The unholy trinity.
There can be only one.
So, I mean, a lot of people were like, yo. And the new like, if you don't know what new Calvinism is, it is what New Coke was to Coke Classic. It basically is like, because
that's actually a really good
so
analogy.
like Reformed theology is a good thing in its confessional identity. New Calvinism isn't very good, but it's got some good. It's still cola. It's still cola. So it's a cola, and you appreciate it as a cola.
Yeah, but no one wanted it.
But like, okay, go back.
Go
back to the classic. And that's what, see, confessionalism, you get the new Coke, you're like, okay, it's okay, but let's go back to the confessionalism.
Yep.
So anyways, if you don't,
good analogy. Good
if you don't know who,
well done. Who'd you steal that from? Driscoll?
First of all,
that in his doctrine book?
I don't plagiarize people.
Again.
Like Driscoll did. So if you don't know who Driscoll is, Mark Driscoll started Mars Hill Church.
As well as Acts 29. He was one of your early mentors.
He was a co-founder of Acts 29.
And one of your early mentors.
He was not a mentor of mine. So he started Mars Hill Church, and I actually learned about Driscoll like a long time ago. I think a Seattle paper did a story on him because he was reaching all these young people in Seattle, this unchurched area, like very few evangelical churches. And Mark's preaching a conservative, gospel-centered message. And lots of conversion, things are happening. And so Mars Hill Church began to grow and like reach a lot of people. He's a dynamic speaker. Bible, I believe, like he used to say things like, I believe hell is hot. You know, I believe the Bible is literal. He would say all these things.
He was good at a turn of phrase. He was able to remember large chunks of information from things that he's read in the past. So he's definitely a gifted communicator.
Very, very gifted.
And so then everything went on perfect. He handled it all well. And now we are praising God for the long and faithful ministry of Mark Driscoll.
It only came to an end when he ascended into heaven on a chariot of fire.
We're waiting for him to come back. But you know what? And you know, people like Joe and I don't have the experiences of Driscoll in a mega church, right? And so as a church grows, it becomes more complex. It becomes more complex. You want more control because you're trying to figure out how do we keep everyone on mission and on vision. And one of the ways I think that it was handled maybe poorly is I think Mark became a bit that's the last Diet Coke. No, there might be one or two more. All right.
Does Diet Coke say light on it? That's weird. Okay.
It's Diet Light.
It's Diet Light?
Diet Coke Light. So,
okay, so here's what Jimmy's saying.
He became a bully. Controlling.
And he may have always been that way. I don't know.
I know, but I'm just trying to be as charitable as possible, saying there's complexities when it comes to a mega church.
Okay, so
as people don't know how to handle it as it grows.
He started Mars Hill. He was a co-founder of Acts 29, church planting movement that we were a part of. And the sin that was characteristic of Mark that really became revealed publicly was that, you know, not sexual immorality, not heresy, but
he did say a lot of weird,
some wonky theology,
and for the record, theology and weird sexual things.
Yeah, his book on marriage was pretty bad.
Yeah.
So let me just clarify for people. A lot of people want to know. We've had people ask us. So you guys are a part of Acts 29,
and Joe was mentored by Driscoll. So
I actually joined Acts 29 in spite of Driscoll because Driscoll was always a guy that I thought theologically was like, you know, not where I would want him to be. And I had issues with certain things that he had said, but the men that I knew in Acts 29 were godly pastors with a lot of wisdom. And I wanted to be a part of that. That's why back in 2008, that's why I applied to Acts 29. And I, you know, they welcomed me in and asked if I'd be president, but I said, I ain't got time for that.
No, that sounds pretty true to me. Yeah, no, I understand. You know what? I thank you for your humility.
Well, you know, that is what I'm known for.
Yeah. Thank you, Joseph.
So, but yeah, he was known. It became really obvious that he was a bully. He was abusive in his leadership style. A lot of sin problems, and he was called to repent by elders, current and former, and ultimately, he was let go from Acts 29. Mars Hill was removed from Acts 29 by the leadership of our network. His elders brought him under discipline,
and he received that well.
Or you could say he ran.
That doesn't sound like Mark. I mean, he said, if I say anything contrary to what your elders are telling you, follow your elders, right?
I think he said that, but then he ran and did not submit to the discipline in order to be restored. He ran off and eventually, relatively quickly, started a new church in Arizona.
So that is the moral of the story. If you don't like how you're being treated at your current church, you can just leave and start another one.
Just put one foot in front of the other. That's what you do, man. You just walk out the door and you start your own church. So, all right. So Driscoll started a new church, Trinity Church, and what is it, Phoenix? Something like that. Yeah. Not Phoenix. Maybe it's over there somewhere. It's in Arizona. It's all the same. It's Arizona. It's all desert, dry, arid, godforsaken state. And so he's over there, and like nobody cares about Driscoll anymore. Yeah. Everybody wanted to publish with Driscoll. Everybody wanted the Driscoll come in. He was a very big deal. These days, people don't really care. It looks like he's aligning himself more with the charismatic crowd these days. And he was doing this interview, a long form interview with a friend of his. And during the interview, he makes that statement, right? And
yeah, I don't hold to 5 points of Calvinism. I think it's garbage and it's not biblical. But then he does a follow-up video.
Yeah, because the statement was just, he even said, like, go ahead and blog about this, and then he's made the statement.
So
he made that follow-up video.
Hey, Driscoll's going to be Driscoll. I mean, the 829 Global Gathering is happening recently, and all of a sudden, Driscoll's got to be out there in social media reminding everyone that he's still alive.
Remember me?
Remember I started this? Remember I mentored Joe Thorne?
No, he didn't.
I'm pretty sure he tweeted that.
Nope. So yeah, he does this follow-up video. We'll link to that in the show notes. And in that, he addresses this issue of 5-point Calvinism, Calvinism versus Arminianism, Reformed theology, and all of that. And simply put, that video that he released was a mess, right? It was a historical theological mess. And now here's the thing.
He did say, though, hold on, I will give him this, that he said at the beginning, there's a lot of other people that know a lot, know a lot more about this than I do, kind of a thing. So he did.
And then he went on to say a bunch of messy things. Okay,
I know. I'm just saying. Okay, he at least gave the caveat that he doesn't. I can't do
algebra, but I'm going to teach a class on algebra, everybody. So that excuses all my bad algebra teaching. Is that what you're saying?
That's what Mark said.
Okay. Anyways,
and Mark word is gold.
Mark's word.
I couldn't think I was going to say. I was going to say something about like baby. Can we just
wrap this up? All right. So like,
no, I want to keep talking about Mark.
So Mark, in this video explanation, and the reason we're talking about this is because a lot of people were like, "Oh my gosh, Mark Driscoll said this about Calvinism, and wasn't he a Calvinist?" And so in this video, he talks about Reformed theology.
Yep.
Now, Jimmy, when he explains what Reformed theology is,
did I find myself agreeing with him?
Were you quizzical?
Or did I think to myself, this sounds like a new definition of Reformed theology?
This is a postmodern approach to words. They mean what I want them to mean.
Oh, and let's go ahead and make up our own dictionary while we write our own doctorate book.
So, well,
which you've got right over there. Now, how often do you go to that as a resource?
Well, usually it's under my pillow. Usually it's like right there.
Would you say every sermon you have to fact check and go against?
Yeah. Well, every sermon I would do the Driscoll drop in every sermon, but I don't credit him because I want to plagiarize him.
Oh, so you do the Driscoll gameplay for the New York Times? Good.
That's what I do. No. So Driscoll, when he talks about Reformed theology, defines it as Protestantism. Basically, he says Reformed theology is just Luther, Calvinist.
He lumps it all together.
And so he goes, that's different from Calvinism. But okay, you could talk about Reformation theology and the solas of the Reformation. It's Reformation theology, but Reformed theology is a specific theology that we've talked about a lot on this podcast.
Yeah,
it is confessionalism.
Yep,
and you're talking about the Westminster, the Savoy, the Belgic, or the 1689.
Yep,
these historic, strongly Calvinistic confessions. That's Reformed theology.
As Joe was talking about earlier, this is Coke Classic.
This is Coke Classic, not New Coke.
Yeah.
So he does this weird thing where he's like, well, I'm Reformed, but then he redefines Reformed as Protestant, basically. Mm-hmm. And then he says, but I'm not a 5-point Calvinist. But really, in all of his teaching over the years, he really only took issue with limited atonement. And he has a wonky view of what he calls, I think, limited atonement. He talks about monergism and synergism, which
use an analogy about rescuing someone from the pool. Whether is their hand coming out and you grab onto it, synergism.
Yeah,
but if it's just a hand pulling you out, monergism.
Okay, so a little bit of a weird analogy. In the end, he says, "I am a monergist." In that video, but then he gets to the 5 points and he talks about the Synod of Dort, and which is where the 5 points comes from. Mm-hmm. And although he gets some of it right, it still gets very, very messy.
For those of our listeners like Steve McCoy that doesn't know what you're talking about, please continue.
Okay, well, so especially for guys like Steve McCoy, the Synod of Dort was an ecclesiastical response to a doctrinally erring group of Christians who had formulated a complaint, right, against the church, saying, here are 5 points of disagreement that we have with you, Reformed churches. And this movement was the Remonstrants. And so they articulated 5 points of disagreement. They said, here are the doctrines that we hold. And then, of course, the church convened. They read through the nonsense, and then they articulated a response, the 5 canons. And those 5 canons have now come to be called the 5 points of Calvinism. And that is not a summation of Reformed theology. No. It is not a summation of Calvinism.
No, it's a response to something
by Reformed theologians, right? That's all that it is. And so any Reformed theologian worth his salt knows that, the emphasis in the institutes, the thread throughout all Reformed theology is union with Christ, right? This is the big thing. And of course, God is sovereign, and we believe in the doctrine of election and, irresistible grace and, limited atonement and perseverance of the saints and all of that. But those things are, listen, I'll tell you right now, the doctrine of election was not Calvin's jam. Okay, Jesus was Calvin's jam. Calvin was always talking about Jesus. So he believed in the doctrine of election and limited atonement, by the way. But, or particular redemption, however you want to put it.
Oh, some people say you're wrong.
Yeah, I know, Driscoll said that. But as a guy that's read most of Calvin's commentaries, it's pretty evident. Like when you read through it, I think it's fair to say
the student has become the teacher.
Wow, I was never the student. No, I'm not admitting I was never the student. Yes, stop it. So listen, one of the things that he says in this whole thing is he starts to take issue, even though he knows that the Synod of Dort was a response to 5 bad doctrines from the Remonstrants. He then says, well, this is the problem with 5-point Calvinism. It starts with man and total depravity. It doesn't start with God.
Oh, yeah, he went through this whole thing about, what does Scripture start with? God in the beginning. What does my doctrine book start with? God in the beginning in creation.
What are you implying right now?
No, I'm implying that he was trying to resell his book right there.
He even said he was going to repackage it and sell it.
He's going to repackage and sell it.
I don't think Crossway's selling it these days. So,
no.
Well, look.
Maybe Charisma News will take care of it for you.
Oh, yeah, they will. Here's the thing. This is not the articulation of Reformed theology. If you want to know what Reformed theology is, then read one of the confessions. Okay, or read the Institutes, or read a systematic theology. That's where you will find a summation of Reformed theology, which, by the way, starts with the knowledge of God, not with total depravity. Yeah. So, it was just, the whole thing was weird. Now, so people were talking about all of this in the video response, and they're like, I thought Mark was Reformed and now he's not, and what's going on? And
he's had a change of heart. He's seen the error of his ways.
We're just going to say a couple things here. One important one at the very end. We're going to say a couple things here.
All right.
Okay. Number one, Mark was never Reformed.
What?
He had
you would know.
He had Calvinistic soteriology, right? Which just means that he believed in the sovereignty of God and salvation, right? He believed in the total depravity of man, as far as I could tell. He believed in irresistible grace. He believed in those things. So he had a Calvinistic soteriology, but he wasn't confessional. He wasn't Reformed. He wasn't a covenant theologian. He doesn't fit that definition. His theology has been a mess for a long time, whether we're talking about his view of the atonement,
or just even
ecclesiology, spiritual gifts. Like, Mark had a lot of trouble. So I think one of the things that we would say in terms of all of this is, imagine Jimmy and I, not as cops, obviously, but as mall cops.
Cops.
Yeah, and we're just waving to you like, nothing to see here.
Jofo.
Move along. The Jofo mall cop, right? Together, we're like, we make one mall cop, right? And we're telling you right now, okay, so some guy was arrested for shoplifting inside Victoria's Secret, okay? So we're standing outside Victoria's Secret.
Are you talking about is this like a real...
No, I'm just saying, this is what a mall cop would do.
Is this a flashback to when Charlestown Mall was still active and you roamed...
It was when I got arrested for shoplifting from Victoria's Secret.
That's pretty much what's happening.
What I'm saying is, we're like the mall cop saying, nothing to see here, move along. All you're going to see is some creep that got caught shoplifting something. So just move along, ain't nothing to see here. And that's what we would say about this. Listen, Mark Driscoll is not an influencer. He is not something that should take up your time. The only reason we're addressing it is because so many of you are addressing it, and you've asked us about it. So we're just saying, like, listen, okay, so Mark is a pastor out there of a church that we wouldn't trust. We wouldn't trust him in his leadership at this point or his theology. So just move along. Nothing to see here. This is a small thing. It's not a big deal. But maybe there is one important lesson that we would want to press in response to this whole issue with Mark and what he just said.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, the importance of confessions, associations, and accountability.
That's the best takeaway, right?
That's it. I mean, like, know what a confession is and know what the confession that you subscribe to, what it's all about, right? Actually take time to delve deep. Now, before someone sends us an email or sends us a direct message and says, oh, but that's not the Bible. You're putting confessions above the Bible. No.
I'm not saying that. But
confessions are based on Scripture.
Every confession starts with that. The Scripture is the only authority.
Exactly.
But if you do want to complain, jimmyfowler@gmail.com.
That's not funny. Why would you do that?
jimmyfowler@gmail.com.
Why would you tell it? Stop
if you
it.
hate Jimmy, if you want mad at Jimmy.
Stop it. Fine. Just get at gmail.com.
No, that is my email, you
no,
dummy.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
You're going to have to edit that out. You better
Why?
be a bleep on it.
Why?
Because that is my email.
Is it really?
Yes.
What marker? All right, here we go.
Dummy.
Keep going.
jimmyfowler@gmail is not your email. That's why I was playing it up.
All right, so
you
keep going,
you said
Joe.
mine and it was real. Can't get my real email out.
I didn't think that was your real
Of course
one.
it is. I got everything. All right. So anyways, all right. So here's the thing. The reason confessions are so good is, let me mute this thing. So the reason confessions are important is because what it says is we're seeking to have a broad yet deep understanding of essential theology that brings unity to leadership into a church, and it roots us in a historic Christian faith and tradition, so that we're not out on our own making it up.
Yes.
It's very, very
Yes.
important. But who cares about associations and stuff?
Well, I mean,
Like what
other
denominations associated?
Other than having to give your 2.5%.
No, 10%.
10%. What? You guys have to get 10% now?
No, I'm just saying, like, people, like,
Some
most denominations would be like, hey, give us 10%.
Some are 2.5.
No denomination asks for 2.5.
No, but I'm saying association. What's the you? I know the budget better than you do.
You're talking about what Redeemer gives, and now you're spilling the beans. Okay, so listen, we give over 10% away for everybody to be clear. But of the various networks that we are a part of, one of them gets 10%. We support missionaries, church planters, networks, and denominations associations.
Well, clutching your pearls, I see.
I'm not clutching my pearls. I'm just trying to say that, like, what most churches, they would say, like, hey, you give like 10% to the denomination.
Yes.
And the local association would say, well, you can give us like 50% or 40%, and you give the rest to the head denomination. But and then some churches would say, well, we'll give you 2.5%. I'm not saying it's like all churches, but some churches, we'll give you 2.5%.
I'm just going to dip my toe in there.
Yeah.
So other than that, though, there should be like that networking. There should be that, well, to use the word, that partnership, that associating with other like-minded brothers and sisters, to proclaim the gospel in a specific region or neighborhood.
So we're sharing mission. We're sharing mission.
Yep.
We're sharing resources. Yep. Working together.
Yep.
But but what else is that good for? So, like, we've got confessions and associations. What else does that bring?
That brings accountability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where people could speak into each other's lives. And I think that's one of the things that was really disheartening about this whole situation with Mark, was he was part of this association. He was part of this network that he had helped co-founded. And they're there trying to love him, to care for him. And they're holding him accountable in the hopes that he could be restored.
Yeah.
And instead, he leaves.
He would do this whole paragraph of thought where he was talking about these Calvinists, these new Calvinists who have daddy issues, and they're drawn to this view of God because of their daddy issues. And we see, because their daddy was not present and uninvolved, and so they believe in a God who is distant, and now so they follow these dead theologians who don't have the ability to speak into their lives, and they join networks filled with brothers but no fathers. Like, yeah, bro, that was what you did. That was your MO.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's not how the confessional tradition works.
No, and that was also that's your failure. That's your failure as someone that said, "Oh, I want to be a father.
Yeah,
I want to be the father. I've been the what was it? He said the prophetic voice. I was that prophetic brother. Now I want to be a loving father." And you skipped out of town.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk about daddy issues with that, right? I mean,
Joe's still dealing with this, Mark. Can't send him a text and apologize?
All I do is stare at your empty chair every day.
That's all. All he does is go to Buffalo Wild Wings and hope that you'll show up.
Oh man, remember that? He liked the sweet barbecue. All right. So anyway, I like the teriyaki though. So what are you gonna do? So yeah, like that was like some really weird stuff. And the truth is that the network was young and it did appeal to younger people, and we needed older men, and we started to get older men, godly men like Sam Storms, godly men like Ray Ortland Jr. Those guys started to step in
and go, "Hey, what's going on?"
Like, "Hey guys, let's chill out here. Let's be responsible." And you could see the trajectory of Acts 29 changing as Mark Driscoll continued to step further and further back into the background. The renewed emphasis under Matt Chandler's leadership was humility, godliness, responsibility and things like that, maturity. And so we, as the network matured, in conjunction with Driscoll stepping away, we could see the right thing happening. So all of this in our minds emphasizes the importance of confessions, associations, and accountability.
Yeah.
All of this should just remind us how important it is to have a robust theology derived from the Scripture, articulated and shared among multiple churches, for the purpose of cooperative work and effort and accountability. Like, that is beautiful. We need that. Jimmy needs that accountability. And because he is open to accountability, he's willing to say that he's sorry. He said it in the past. Are you finally ready to say it now for the last episode that you did? Are you finally ready to heed the rebuke and say that you're sorry?
Why do you do the things you do?
I'm trying to give everybody an example, a tangible example of what this looks like. So now, in your humbled state, you probably should apologize for
what?
Being like, for clutching your pearls over that trailer that we talked about last time.
I'm just waiting for Tom Hicks to come fix this.
Tom Hicks, will you fix this?
Please fix this,
We need the Tom Hicks fix.
That's what I need right now.
Hashtag Tom Hicks fix.
That should be like every controversy. Hashtag Tom Hicks fix.
This whole thing with the Mueller report.
Hicks fix.
We need the Tom Hicks fix. I don't know what's going on here, man. Jesse Smollett?
Tom Hicks fix.
We got to get something going here, man.
Iran taking the taker? Tom Hicks fix.
You know what? I don't know what to do, but those 4 congresswomen?
Nope. Tom Hicks fix.
Okay, can we get to Tom? Get on it.
Get on it. Come on, man. Well, we'd love to hear your thoughts. You can follow us online on Instagram and Twitter at Doc and Devo, or on Facebook /Doctrine and Devotion. You can head to the website, doctrinedevotion.com. There you can contact us. You can sign up for the email blast or hit up the store, jofostore.com, and grab some gear. Fresh pod every Monday and Thursday, blog posts on Wednesdays, video content on Fridays. Later.